Okay. Welcome to Midjourney version 8 Alpha Quick Start. We are over here in the Midjourney official Discord server, which is, you'll see that over on the upper right. If you ever lose track of that URL, it is discord.gg/Midjourney. So whether you are watching this as a recording or live, if you want to join us, we are in the Prompt Craft voice channel. You will see a big juicy green button that says join event if you join in the next hour or so. Other than that, you can use your nearby chat or your comment section to talk to us, and we will respond as soon as we can. If you use live chat on Twitch or YouTube, as you can see behind the list of users over there, we've got our Discord voice participants, which I'll probably hide once we get started. You can see this speech bubble behind. That's where your chat will show up, so everyone will be able to see it, and you'll be able to see all of the Discord people chatting over on this side. And in the middle, there will be slides and Midjourney itself. So I am glancing out at our Discord participants today. I see Bliamak Johnny, who I'm going to unmute. Marina, welcome. Snoopy, Westendorf, and Yakko. None of you guys are brand new. So I'm really happy to see you swing by for the quick start, given that you guys started a long time ago. For the sake of the recording, I'm going to go ahead and introduce a few just rudimentary things about logging in and so on, just to help out the folks who might be watching this as a recording later. So let me bring up Midjourney and say that for the sake of the V8 Alpha, you'll want to log into alpha.midjourney.com. And then log in with your Discord username and password. And most of what we will be doing is taking place in the Create tab here, and in this Imagine box at the top. So make sure that you can do those things. If you are somebody who uses Discord to prompt, you're going to be learning to use the web in this class. But generally, you'll be learning to use the prompt you'll be learning how to prompt regardless of whether you are Discord or web user. So this is Midjourney. I am Midjourney's instructor, community educator. At least I strive to be. I symbolize myself with the owl with the red glasses because I wear these glasses, these bright red glasses in real life. I don't know. I love attention. What can I say? I like to note that what I say here is said independently. Nothing that I say in this or in this recording can be taken as an official statement from Midjourney. We the prompting community put together our own information, and the developers help support us, but do not often do not disclose anything to us differently than they would disclose to anyone who asked. So you are here probably not because you're average. If you're sitting here and watching this recording, it means that you are a Midjourney explorer. You're serious about figuring out how to prompt, and it means you probably, if you're asking yourself, how do I prompt, it means that you probably have something in mind. There are kind of two types of prompting you can get into. You can do exploratory prompting, discovering aesthetics, typing in poetic phrases, and just generally seeing what happens when you prompt. But there's also what's called prompt adherence, meaning you have a specific vision in mind, and you really need that image, maybe for a personal project, maybe for a professional project, but you can't just let Midjourney randomly give you stuff. You need to you need to control the canvas. So that's the sort of prompting we will be talking about. We do have a version of this class that is about aesthetic exploration and discovery, but we will not be attempting that until 8.1 is released, because 8.1 is really going to be better balanced for that. The alpha is is a little bit less capable than we'd like it to be for styles and aesthetics. So without much ado, let's talk about the V8 alpha. Here, I'll hide our speakers so it's less messy on the screen. Maybe I'll hide the speakers if I can find the speakers. Is that them? No, that didn't do it. Hold on, this shouldn't take me more than 2 or 3 hours. Here we go. Ta-da! Okay. Clean that up a little bit. So yeah, many things have changed to make V8 or V8 Alpha feel like a brand new experience. But I want to put in a quick caveat that the foundational training, in other words, Midjourney's knowledge, is still essentially the same. So where Midjourney has performed weakly in the past due to lack of knowledge, like it just doesn't seem to know what a centaur is, it will continue to perform weakly because the types of changes that were made didn't have anything to do with what Midjourney knows, just how Midjourney performs. And that's enough to make a huge difference. But those of you who are like, oh man, I can't get this specific type of succulent to show up in a way that looks like what it's supposed to be, or every time I ask for a llama, it gives me an alpaca, and every time I ask for, a tortoise, it gives me a turtle. These very specific areas of knowledge are not yet improved. There is not a new data set. It might be a slightly modified data set, but we've found no evidence of increased knowledge. So where it will improve is in areas it always knew in all the prior versions you might be familiar with. But it didn't have the efficiency to really deliver the prompt adherence you wanted, the obedience to the prompt that you wanted. And so the increased efficiency means there's more time for that adherence, for that coherence, for style. And that's a game changer. And mind you, this is if you prompt for a diffusion model, or if you're not going to prompt for a diffusion model, then you are in conversational mode, which means that you can prompt it like you would Nano Banana or some other LLM. But as long as you've directed your prompting style to the right feature, then you'll get this great improvement with this with the alpha. As I was saying earlier, you might find sort of the default style might feel like the weakest link, but we expect 8.1 to be released any day now, and I promise you that 8.1 performs better, it performs closer to our prior expectations for how the default style should perform. Any questions about Midjourney's change in knowledge, or conversational mode versus regular mode? If you have no questions, you can type NQ or no questions. That just lets me know that people are keeping up. Wonderful World of Stuff says, knowledge, any 3D data training? Here, Wendy, let me unmute you so you can ask that again. Try me again.
Yeah, basically, I've been seeing some images from 8.1 that were shared with Quick Knowledge last night, and there was some serious, incredible stuff, like doing invisible, like an invisible woman, wrapped up in barbed wire, or something like that, a barbed wire dress. That is practically impossible, right? Especially to see the back of the person, as if it like a ghostly sort of image of it. And I noticed that Asian Chaos shared lots of images, and one of them was showing something like that, and it was like, what? And I thought, well, it's like it's got some 3D render system. Or I thought it must.
It's just diffusion. It's just. I know.
Yeah.
I know. I've been trying not to oversell it. I don't. Unlike Ancient Chaos, I don't have leave to leak.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
It's definitely more like what we hoped when 8 was released and we were all hyped up. We were thinking about 8.1. We were thinking about alpha.
In VC Text, he shared it last night, 6 images, which you'll all be able to look at now, I guess. People are able to click in Discord, they'll click up and have a look, and they'll be able to see the images. It's kind of insane. Because, again, it's something you can't share, but it's something people can look at. You know?
I could. You can, if it's been in VC Text public, you can forward it to this channel. That's fine.
Okay.
I just can't go into my collection of cool images and pull out ones that I think are worth sharing. Maybe I could, but I won't, just in case.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I want to go over real quick is the incomplete features of the alpha, which I think this might be the very last class where I have to talk about that, because 8.1 is imminent. I'll talk a little bit about improved prompt adherence and the new token limits, conversational mode strategy, which I've already touched on a little bit. Thank you, Wendy. Parameter experiments, how to work inside the alpha prompting strategy, which I'm probably going to gloss over because alpha is about to go. And bless it, sweetheart. But bye-bye, Felicia. Image quality and detail, composition and layout, and so on. So let's get started on there. If you guys have comments about the images that Wonderful World of Stuff is sharing, please go ahead and put them in the chat. And if there are enough of them, I will pause to go over them. So this slide addresses the initial feedback from the community about the V8 alpha. It's important to acknowledge that many users are finding the alpha version chaotic and inconsistent. It's been making it hard for people to productionize their work. And that feeling stems probably from sort of that core pain point of the learning curve, right? To resume control over the canvas that we're used to having from our prior experiences with Midjourney. So the community, I think, has been with alpha reacting to this lack of control by shifting the prompting strategy. We're seeing a movement toward more explicit prompting for precise canvas control, and that will be the same in 8.1. Semantic precision and token choice, moving away from vague vibes, that's going to be less important because of the balance in 8.1. The 8.1 is balanced so that vibes are a little bit more strategically possible, more feasible. Iterative prompting to build fluency, still going to be true in 8.1. An acceptance that alpha is an exploratory tool and not a stable one. That's true for every version of Midjourney. Although we can often forget because it's such an incredible product. We feel like it's kind of done, right? But it's never done. So let's talk about the incomplete features for a minute. In alpha, and I don't have news for 8.1 yet because they're not done cooking. But in alpha, we're not seeing the omni-reference or image prompts. We're not seeing the no parameter I don't think we'll ever see weights or multi-prompts ever again. Some of you joined Midjourney so late you don't even know what that is, and that's okay. You don't have to know anymore. Draft mode is now is in 8 and 8.1 more or less the default. Like the fastest Midjourney will go is the default speed, and then after that you can spend more minutes if you want to by adding a value of Q for quality, which increases the number of steps or the baking time. So you can add Q1 and 2, which default to Q1, or Q3 and 4, which default to 4, and spend double or quadruple the number of minutes to give Midjourney more time to work on your image. There's also, instead of upscales, this concept of HD. Hyphen HD is the parameter, and that will actually start you with a higher resolution seed, which means that the amount of detail that Midjourney can add, such as think of individual fingers or small faces, is much superior to what it was before. And in those two ways, between Q, which has always been available, but with Q and plus HD, we've got we've sort of recreated the modes of draft and upscale without actually calling them by those names. Any questions about the missing version, missing parts of the alpha launch?
Well, dash HD makes a larger image.
A higher resolution image.
Yeah, but it's not a substitute for upscaling, because you can't take an image and say, okay, now make it HD, can you?
Not quite. You can, of course, no, you can't take an existing image and upscale it in Midjourney. That's got to be done with third-party upscales, at least for the alpha. And I've put some third parties in your chat there. But you can almost do it. Like, I would use my default mode to develop the prompt, and then I would run that prompt in HD, and it wouldn't get me a pixel perfect replication of the image. It's not an upscale, but it would get me very close to the same image in the HD format. So you're right. It's a problem if you want the exact image, if you want a literal upscale. But it's great if you're working in drafts and then you want a final.
There is, of course, the trick to upscale it by changing in the editor. I do it every day, constantly. It's a great trick.
If you don't want to export the image and go to a third party, there will probably be that. Right now there's a trick, but it will probably be better supported workflow later, so that Yakko, you can think of it as missing for now.
Right.
I'm so glad someone had a question. If you have no questions, you can type NQ or no questions. Welcome to the Midjourney Quick Start.
I got a question about OmniRev. Will there be OmniRev in 8.1? And you said that the weight doesn't matter anymore. Why is that?
Weights and multi-prompts, I don't know if they intentionally made them go away, but they weren't implemented correctly starting in 6, I think. And in 7, still no. And in 8, they're just not there. So it's just being deprecated. And that's partially, that might be okay if prompt adherency goes up enough, or our conversational mode is smart enough. Because the reason why we needed them to begin with was we needed some mechanism by which to emphasize and de-emphasize things. Because I can't say a very, 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 very cute dragon. Very, 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 very doesn't mean anything to Midjourney. So the only thing I could do is take the word cute and give it a weight, a high weight, and then it would tweak the influence of the token cute, and then I would get a cuter dragon, right? I can max out my cuteness that way without typing very, very, very. So right now, that mechanism of individual token weights or phrasing weights has been deprecated. Will it come back? I don't know. Are there ways around it? Yes. If you want a very cute dragon, then you have to, in your mind's eye, imagine one, and then add to the prompt the qualities or characteristics, that make the dragon very, very, very cute. Larger eyes, softer lighting, fuzz, whatever those elements are. It just shifts the burden onto the user for coming up with what very, very, very looks like. Similarly, we used weights to de-emphasize, meaning if you wanted, the sun over the desert, but you wanted the sun to be very, very tiny, you can't say, very, very, very small or the smallest sun ever. Like there's no way. I mean, you can say a small sun, and small will have some influence, but it might not make, the tiny sun that you're after. Or you might say tiny sun and it will create a model, like a diorama or something, because tiny and miniature are words that are correspondent to dioramas. So what we used to do is have put a negative weight on that token, or a positive weight on the word small, or a negative weight on the word sun, right? And you could kind of play around with de-emphasizing. And the only tool of de-emphasis we have is -- no, and that is not an alpha either. So the only way to play with emphasis and de-emphasis right now is, in your head, you have to imagine what it looks like and put what it looks like in the prompt.
Well, for example, let's take the sun in the desert. Like I want a tiny sun in the background with a bit of flare, a bit of lens flare in it. What would I prompt in V8?
Probably a tiny sun with a little bit of lens flare to start with. To start with, just exactly what you said. To start with, and then see what that does,
and
then
go in conversation mode and.
No, I wouldn't trust conversational mode with it. Not the way it's written right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the only way to do it right now is through iterative prompting, which is great in V8 Alpha and 8.1 because they're both incredibly inexpensive by default. They're basically draft mode by default. Very, very fast. So you can work on your prompt. And get like, okay, no, I need the sun smaller. No, this is not where I have to say. I would say that it's a vast, expansive sky with a small sun in it. And then in order to obey that prompt, it's going to have to shrink the sun in order to make the sky look as expansive and vast as I've said. Right.
Oh, that's smart.
So
yeah. Okay, that was a good one.
You start thinking, well, what does it look like? What can I make something else bigger in order to make something small? Can I make something smaller to make something else look big? And you start exploring that with your iterative prompting, and that's how you eventually get around the absence of weight and no.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Nice, thanks.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So let me go on. Okay, talking about prompt adherence and token limits. This is a joke based on the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell meme. The prompt is the powerhouse of Midjourney in 8, and it will still be in 8.1, even though the balance will be a little different. That means that almost every puzzle you have, like I can't make it do this, unless it's a knowledge issue, like Midjourney doesn't know what a 3-hole punch is, for example. It doesn't matter how cleverly you prompt it. It's unlikely to ever. It's not going to suddenly know what it is. I use that example all the time, the 3-hole punch, but I haven't tested it. Maybe Midjourney does know what a 3-hole punch is. But in any event,
I don't know what it is.
Oh, you don't? It's you put loose leaf paper in it and you press down and it puts 3 holes in the paper so you can snap it into a binder.
Ah, of course. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
What do you call them?
Perforator.
Ah, that makes sense. Welcome, Cherry. Right. Yeah. Perforator perforates the paper.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I just want to get people thinking about that. There's a lot of confusion about how to prompt Midjourney because Midjourney is not an LLM. So people come from the world of ChatGPT or Nano Banana or whatever, and they tell Midjourney, make me an infographic with 3 segments describing, the photosynthesis. And Midjourney has no idea how to do that. And that kind of prompting doesn't work. You actually have to, Midjourney works better with prompts in which you are an artist who has envisioned the image that you are trying to chase down, and you can describe that image. Now, conversational mode, I don't even think our conversational mode is smart enough to know what photosynthesis is. Let's try it. I'm going to turn on conversational mode by clicking the speech bubble here. And I'm going to say an infographic describing the mechanisms of, oh, whoops, sorry, this is conversational mode. Create an infographic describing the mechanisms of photosynthesis. Does it understand photosynthesis? No, it didn't do a thing. Hello? Hello? Oh, I just blocked it. Darn it. Well, I just ruined that. Okay. And make an infographic. Does that work? I'm just checking to see if conversational mode is working at all. Perhaps it is not. Oh, a dog worked. Make a dog. It doesn't like make. That's new. Okay. Photosynthesis infographic. Yeah, it knew. Arrows showing CO2 intake and O2 release. It didn't know where to place those arrows. The arrows are completely random. So all this to say that conversational mode is still not the LLM you think it is. But it can help you if that's the style of prompting you're used to. Hold on, I'm trying to switch back to, okay. So prompt adherence. Prompt adherence is the Midjourney's ability to create the image that your prompt describes. It is not the ability of Midjourney to, quote, obey the prompt, although even I am guilty of saying it that sometimes. But obey the prompt sounds like you can give it a command, and you can't, because Midjourney is not an LLM. You are the artist. You put a description of the image you're trying to create. Midjourney has about 256 tokens limit in V8 Alpha, 1,300 characters, whichever you hit first. And you can check if you're interested, because I always somebody says, how many tokens is this? And so I'm going to go ahead and say that we have no idea what tokenizer Midjourney is using. It's a black box. But if you're curious, I just put the Novel AI tokenizer in your chat there. And you can give that a try as an idea for how tokenizing sometimes works. If you're interested in figuring out, you know, when does my prompt hit the limit? I've been hard pressed to hit a limit where my capacity goes down, my adherency goes down. This is an example of a 256 character prompt. It has well over 50 details. I was able to add even more, and none of them were missed. That's a hell of a lot of details. That's an unheard of, unimaginable number of details compared to prior versions of Midjourney. So I encourage you to explore. Hold on just a second, you guys. Are you okay? Okay, I thought I heard something break. Okay, sorry, someone dropped a glass. I just was making sure everyone was okay. Right. So I really encourage people to explore the adherency techniques. Now, the drawback, at least in alpha about adherency, is in what I'll call literalism. If I say a college student reclining pose photography, there's a chance. Ooh, it didn't do it. I'm so happy. There's a chance that she will be holding a camera. Please let me be on the right. Okay. Was that raw? Oh, I'm still in conversational mode. That's why it's not working. Hold on. My bad. Okay. College student. Right. So here you go. A college student reclining pose photography. That's what I mean by literalism. Notice that even in 7, photography would have created a photograph. In alpha, it did in 2 of them, but in 2 of them, it also gave her a camera. Now, thus coming back this idea of the phrase "in the style of" photography, which for a number of reasons seems to it increases the distance between the subject and the word photography. It introduces the token style, and between those two things, you don't get so much literalism. So it's time to start reconsidering those turns of phrase for this next version of Midjourney. Let's see, that one worked great. Of course, it's not photography. This one is not photography. So what if I add photographic? Do I get all 4 out of 4 photographs? I do. No, I don't. In the style of photography? And let's also try a photograph of. Just showing how such small changes can result in big differences. Photography and photographic by themselves, not sufficient. In the style of photography, sufficient. A photograph of, sufficient. So are there any questions about adherency versus literalism? If you have no questions, you can type NQ or no questions. Adherency versus literalism? Okay. I'm going to skip that. Talk about image quality and detail. The best way to increase image quality and detail in V8 and V8.1 is with the HD parameter. That starts your image with a higher resolution seed, so it's natively high resolution output from the start. That's a truly new capability. It changes Midjourney's rendering habits from the ground up. And it costs 4 times more. So be aware of that. That might change in 8.1, or at least settle down. We'll see. I know that they're working on efficiency improvements all the time to make Midjourney more affordable. So that's as opposed to Q, which creates a longer diffusion baking time, which is independently also 4 times more. So that means if you max out quality and use HD, it's 16 times more expensive. So just like upscaling before, you use it when you're kind of good and ready, or you trust the prompt. Has everyone had a chance to see what the difference is between these? What do you guys think I should put at Q4 HD to really demonstrate to you what the difference is? Sometimes I do a crowd of faces. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things that HD improves is little bitty faces, because there's so many more pixels for Midjourney to play with. Quality makes the diffusion run for a longer baking time or thinking time. So it can sometimes correct issues with coherency. Coherency meaning how well formed the figures in the image appear to be. And cohesion, which is how well the style penetrates to the whole canvas. But without HD, no matter how high you kick the quality, it's always going to output at the default resolution. And my favorite is to use them both together. But again, that can get quite expensive. So use with care. So you can see how much longer this is taking. If I take quality 4 and HD out of there, it'll show up almost instantly. So let's compare. And of course, HD is using a high resolution seed library. So it stands to reason it's not the same library as the lower resolution seeds. So they'll never match. It's impossible for them to match. So even though they've used the same seeds, they're pulling from different places. Okay, so I don't know if you guys want to examine this. I will put these side by side here so you can decide, well, you know, which one has coherency problems? Do they both have coherency problems? But one of the first things that I notice is that Midjourney can choose styles that have a lot more detail. And so it does. There are, I see that not every face is perfect, but I also see that every face there is has more detail. And it's up to you guys what you think of this. I'm not going to tell you one is better than the other, but I am encouraging you to notice the difference in effect. Here's more high resolution versions for you to examine. Oh my goodness, a bird just flew into my window. I hope he's okay. Wow. And you know, we can later run this on 8.1 and see the difference there. But there, in case you want to bring those up on your larger monitors to take a look, I put those in your chat. So that is the difference between HD and Q, and what we get for our money. Are there any questions about image quality and detail in the V8 Alpha? Okay. Welcome back, my mountain biker chick. Hi, Emma. Hi, Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Hey, Reason. Okay. Positioning within frame. Multiple subjects, controlling the camera, seeds, composition and layout. Again, as I showed you before, 50 plus focal points, meaning, you know, if you want a rabbit wearing a hat on a tree, and the tree is on the back of an elephant, and the elephant is on the ocean, and the ocean is in an aquarium, and, you know, I mean, just endless amounts of detail. A lot of that is much better supported. And also positioning and camera control. Now, remember, Midjourney's knowledge hasn't changed since the V7. So if you guys were asking Midjourney to do an establishing shot or a wide shot or some other cinematography turns of phrase, whether in video or in images, that Midjourney just didn't seem responsive to, it will continue not to be responsive in version 8 and 8.1 because the knowledge hasn't changed over much. But if it does have an inkling of what you mean, of what those tokens mean, then you will certainly get a better result. So one of the very cool things to play with in 8 Alpha and 8.1 is positioning within the frame. In other words, you can much more exactly control your composition. You can also trust Midjourney to do it. But if you are somebody who doesn't always want, you know, everything perfectly centered and everything perfectly symmetrical, and you want some things inside that and these things to the left and to the right of that, those types of positional tokens, basically prepositional phrases, are surprisingly effective in 8.1 and 8 Alpha. Let's talk about text rendering. So this is typography, handwriting, fonts, print. We might remember from V7 that we get distorted words and letters and not very many of them. V8, Wendy, not to put you on the spot, but have you tested how many words you can get before it starts messing up? Sounds like the sort of thing you test.
I've got about 32, but only one quad would be 32. Yeah, 32 is the most I ever got. One out of the quad did it. You know, so the other three were totally messed up. I was pushing it to its limits.
Right. Yeah, but the slide says 15. That's 4 out of 4. So it doesn't surprise me that double that is 1 out of 4. So excellent. There are a couple of things. Text is one of the best things to play with in alpha, but a couple of things to be aware of. First of all, the developers have gone to some trouble to make sure that double quotes help separate the words to be printed from the rest of the prompt. So single quotes, not so effective. Double quotes, give it a try. Double quotes around the words to be printed. And then there's this concept of unlock words or activation words, meaning words that sort of trigger Midjourney to do certain things. We use them in all kinds of contexts, but the context we're talking about here is unlock or action words for activation words for text prompts. So text adjacent terms like the words text or font, typography, writing, written, write, wrote, typed, printed, painted, graffiti, stitched. In other words, the method by which the words are rendered, and also the destination or context, a piece of paper, an envelope, a postcard, a sign, a billboard. So including both how the words are rendered and where the words are rendered, and putting double quotes around the words that are rendered helps strengthen Midjourney's text and typography skills. The next thing people often ask is, well, can I specify a font or a style like bold, italic? You can try. We find that font sizes like 14-point Helvetica, like this is less likely to give you literal 14-point literal Helvetica and more likely to give you something middle-sized and maybe sans serif. You know what I mean? Like Midjourney is a diffusion model. It's going to be very general how it depicts that. If you want to control the style of your typography, try using archetypes, stereotypes, handwriting, permanent marker, Western style, cyberpunk style, modern, contemporary, calligraphy, Victorian. These sorts of iconic words are more likely to successfully stylize your text. In alpha, we find that sometimes we get better luck with turning on raw and turning on personalization. Whether that's true in 8.1 remains to be seen. I don't think we're going to have to worry about it in 8.1.
Why would personalization help with the better
because personalization just adds more rules for coherency, more
okay.
production.
Also, a follow-up question. In which way should I prompt if I want a text on an envelope? Should I say an envelope with the text hyphen in between that the text, or the text and then this is written on an envelope?
Let's look. I think both will work. An envelope with the words "Dear Mark" written in, I don't know, permanent marker. Let's try that. I'm trying to seed lock it here, and then I'll put it so there's enough room. That's something that's important. Just give it enough room. And then "Dear Mark" written in permanent marker on an envelope. Go the other way.
Okay, that's good. Nice.
Eight isn't very picky about this unless the prompt gets very, very long.
If there's a long prompt, like said that like this envelope is in a room, but there's a whole lot of prompt before it, like where we're saying there's a clock, there's a table, there's some pens on the table, some
yeah. Let me
corner.
ask the prompt helper to test with that. Write a long descriptive prompt of a living room in which there is an envelope with the words "Dear Mark" written on it. Okay. So I'm just asking it to write the prompt here. for me. Just, oh my God, it's going to think. All right, we'll come back to that.
Cool.
I used envelope and envelope. Well, heck. I was raised by Europeans, but I grew up in America, so my accent is all over the place. I'm gonna guess that's a problem. That's why I wander between them. Okay, so there's oh, well, okay, there's the prompt. It didn't feature the envelope, of course, because I mean, it's not dominating the composition because there's so many other things in the composition, which is what you asked for. But I could also say, let's see, a white envelope resting on, hold on just a second, in a sunlit living room. So in this case, I put the white envelope at the front of the prompt, which should I grammatically made the envelope the feature of the image. So that should, in theory, do absolutely nothing. Oh, bring it into the foreground. Make it bigger is what I was going to say. And it did make it bigger. In this case, it did make it bigger. That's not what I meant, Midjourney. In this case, it also literally made it bigger. But this is what I meant, is that now it's a picture of this envelope with, by the way, the living room. Because grammatically, the subject of the sentence is now the envelope. And here the subject of the sentence is the living room, and by the way, there's an envelope on the table. Yeah, Cherry, that's what we were testing. What happens if it's a bigger prompt? Okay, great questions. Any other questions about text rendering and text prompts? If you have no questions, you can type NQ for no questions, or just throw your question into the chat. Whatever you want to do. Okay, very nice. Aesthetics. Speed and efficiency, seed reproducibility. Aesthetics, I didn't even fill out the slide. I am waiting for 8.1. In alpha, the balance is such that without the help of mood boards and profiles and srefs, the default style is tough to work with. It's not really present. I sometimes characterize alpha as, quote, lazy, meaning if you don't take control of the canvas yourself, then Midjourney doesn't do anything on your behalf. I love that. But a lot of people are like, how am I supposed to explore if Midjourney doesn't imagine for me? I'm like, okay, it's a good point. It's a good point. There are times where I say, you know, like a woman standing in line at the bank, and it like puts the minimum cues to satisfy that prompt on the canvas. And I'm like, okay, really? I have to imagine the bank? I have to say there's a linoleum floor? I have to say there's fluorescent lights? Really? Can't I just say in the bank, please? You know, like, so I get it. And we'll see the balance shift in the favor of Midjourney doing some more imagining in 8.1. I wonder if V8 could do an image with a white dragon and a black dragon curled up against each other on the floor in such a way as to make a yin-yang symbol with their bodies. I don't know. The first thing I do is just put that very, very same. Well, yes, you just wrote the prompt. I mean, it didn't quite do it, but it kind of got the idea. What if I gave it to conversational mode? Not different, really. A little better. I didn't even make a new prompt for you there, Cherry. I just pasted in what you typed. And gotcha halfway there. Prompt adherency. Oh yeah. Right. It's the speed accuracy trade-off. Most of us don't spend a whole lot of time working with seeds. I do because I'm constantly trying to kind of show the difference between X and Y. So for me, it matters that the fact that V8 is optimized for extreme speed. It's taking fewer, larger steps to reach the final result. And that means that it might, from moment to moment, might take a slightly different giant step than last time I ran it with that seed, which means that seeds are not 100% reproducible anymore. For those of you who do a lot of testing, that you might notice that sort of drift, or that change in determinism, which is on top of the fact that seeds also drift from job to job sometimes. Is there anyone here who depends on seeds besides Wonderful World of Stuff and me? I don't use seeds very... Oh, yeah, Johnny. Okay. So this is of interest to you then, hey? That, it used to be that we could run two things with the same seed, and if there was a small variation, we'd see, see? But now it has to be more than that. It has to be quite a big difference for us to note a difference. It has to be larger than the natural variation. So that's what's new in the V8 Alpha. Better prompt adherence, improved image quality and detail if you use HD, and especially if you couple that with Q4. Better composition control, which is part of prompt adherence. Text rendering, chef's kiss. Static sensitivity, which we'll enjoy in 8.1. And speed and efficiency and coherency. Right. So let's wrap up the V8 Alpha and go into prompting in general. If you guys are done with the difference between 7 and 8, just type NQ or ask me any questions, and then I'm going to leave the differences behind and move on. Okay. How are you doing, Marina? Checking in with Regine. Wow. Wow, MW. You guys are okay? Okay. There's somebody here named Leche, too, I think. And Flo. All right. If you guys are okay, I will do the next thing and talk about prompting in general. A couple of bottom lines to keep in mind. This is rule number 1. If you don't control it with the prompt, Midjourney makes it up. If you don't control it with the prompt in alpha, Midjourney might do just freaking nothing. It might just be like, oh, you didn't say. Just give you nothing, which is, kind of fascinating. I'm used to Midjourney being like, you didn't say, so I'm just going to keep elaborating on this until everything's covered in flowers and, whatever. But in alpha, sometimes it's like, you didn't say, so I'm going to stop. But the bottom line is the same, right? It's a sort of a really eager but slightly clueless intern. So you tell them, make a picture of a dog, and they'll go, yeah, great, a golden retriever sitting in a field at sunset in a watercolor style, and you didn't ask for any of that. Or you say a golden retriever, and it puts it on a blank background and does nothing, and you didn't ask for that either. the problem's the same in both instances. Midjourney's, trying to figure out what to do with every single pixel on that canvas. So it's going to default to whatever is most common, an archetypal probability, right? And in Alpha's case, it's gonna stop rather than elaborate on what you said. In 8.1, it'll probably be better balanced, and it will continue to elaborate. But it's the same bottom line. How do you keep that intern in line? Every single one of your prompts needs to hit the 3 big components of a composition. Let's see if I have the 3 big components of the composition: the subject, the background, and the style. So the subject is whatever the picture is about. The background is the context, the visual context of whatever that picture is about. So the subject in this case is an orange sailboat. The background is a teal sea at night. And then the style is the iconic visual look of the image. And in this case, the style is a flat cartoon. So that's the first bottom line, is this checklist. Whoops. Okay. Bluff number 2 here. Let me paste bluff number 1 in here, just for those of you who like to see it in print. Bluff number 2, bottom line up front. Number 2. If the prompt exceeds the time allotted to the job, Midjourney becomes incoherent, blends, and/or drops details. This is going to be true forevermore because diffusion, but it is really tough. And Wendy, tell me if you've been able to make it do this, but I unless I'm intentionally trying to blend things, I don't get a lot of blending problems.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
You're with me, okay. So here's the deal. Every single one of your prompts is a timed task on Midjourney servers, right? Each job has a limited amount of time to get the image rendered. And it's not about how long your prompt is, actually. It's about how demanding it is. If you ask for too much complex stuff, or especially a bunch of conflicting ideas, with the prompt adherence this high, conflicting ideas is an interesting way of things to go wrong. Or if you waste time basically asking Midjourney to consider words that won't help it render the image, you could basically run out of time and then not get the image you want. When you run out of time, things get a little weird. You get incoherence, and this is when Midjourney starts tripping over itself. You get visual gibberish, like a character with 3 arms, or eyes in the wrong place or something. And you might get blending, which is the unintentional merging of visual traits between what are supposed to be distinct subjects. And you get these kind of weird hybridized features, like you want a bunny and an alligator having a picnic, but in these earlier versions, you get an alligator with floppy bunny ears, and the bunny has scales and teeth, right? That's classic blending. So in 8, it's really tough to run into these issues, but they're still out there. So you still want to think a little bit about optimization. That keeps your jobs running smoothly. You get smart about what words to use, and which details to include that are going to help Midjourney versus which are going to confuse Midjourney. It's basically understanding archetypes, so you can figure out when Midjourney can sort of do it for us, and when we absolutely must give it specific instructions, otherwise it does it wrong. So we'll talk about that. And the last thing is, it's related. These are all related. The last bottom line is this notion of chaotic tokens. If the prompt contains what I'm calling chaotic tokens, you'll lose control of the canvas. So we talked about the eager intern and we imagined the energy drink running out and it starts doing sloppy work or something. But imagine you give the intern just a bunch of random words that don't mean anything visual and then ask it to draw a picture of that. So they're going to freak out. They can't translate the word philosophical or approximately or make sure my boss will like it into an actual picture. These are words with no clear visual outcome. And I'm calling those chaotic token because they're words Midjourney can't convert into concrete renderable imagery. They just eat up precious processing time for uncertain results. We don't know what they're going to do. They're going to do something, but we don't know what they're going to do necessarily. They dilute the prompt. They make it uncertain. So a good rule of thumb, let's see, skip or direct instructions and commands in conversation to conversational mode. I want it to look like, or please make a picture of, or that sort of thing. If you want to talk to it the way you talk to Nano Banana or Sora or whatever's out there, LLM style, multimodal LLM style prompting, the closest Midjourney has to that is conversational mode, and I demonstrated that earlier. You want to probably, if I were troubleshooting my prompt, like my prompt is doing something that I don't like, and I'm interested in correcting it, the first thing I would do is check for jargon and metadata. Midjourney can't simulate a real camera, and it doesn't understand stuff like super hyper quality, right? So these metadata terms, and we'll look at this a little bit more, but metadata terms like ISO 100 or f/1.8 aperture, 16-bit linear EXR, these sorts of things. There are theories as to why they will help, but I will show you that they may not help. We call them chaotic tokens, and you might need to avoid them when you're troubleshooting. Literary writing. So this is a big one. It's if your prompt sounds like a novel, which ChatGPT, untrained ChatGPT et al. love to write prompts like this. The fairy is overcome by a feeling of dread in a dark forest. So that will just produce archetypes. Because what does a feeling of dread look like? Do you have something in mind for that? If you mean that, if a feeling of dread to you means cowering with hands over the head, right? Then you probably want to actually say a fairy cowering, in a moonless forest of black gnarled trees or something. Do you hear how much more visual that is compared to a feeling of dread, in a dark forest? That level of specificity might help you when you're troubleshooting. If the word can't be seen or drawn, it might be chaotic. It might be chaotic. That's not to say that all of the dressings of grammar are chaotic, because that adds structure. So it doesn't mean you should leave out, the word of or the or, whatever. Even though, like, what does the look like? It doesn't look like anything. I'm going to leave it out. That's a problem, because it does add meaning. So you will eventually become fluent. So here's a challenge. Spam me with chaotic tokens here in chat. Give that a try. I want to see what you guys think of as chaotic tokens. You just learned that chaotic tokens are words that Midjourney can't easily translate into a picture, like instructions or jargon or vague concepts. So your challenge right now is in the chat. Spam us with examples of chaotic tokens that you would avoid in a Midjourney prompt. If you are at your computer while you're listening and you're able to do that, type in an example. Octane render. That's a classic. How about trending? What does dynamic look like? Yeah, what does hyper realistic look like? Oh, feels amazing. Excellent. Exactly. Welcome, Dridu. Interpreter. Conveying a fun vibe. There you go. It's not that these phrases do nothing. All of the I beat you, Derpeter. It's not that all of these that these phrases do nothing. All of these phrases do something. It's just that we aren't always sure what those somethings are. And when you're troubleshooting, it's good to revisit some of these words and make sure they're doing what you hope they will. Mystical and eerie sound like good visual words. Derpeter says, if you make enough images, you can figure out what some of these words do and create a fluency for yourself. Yep. Okay, any questions? Not that much, Derpeter, a little bit. He's suggesting that in 8.1, because of the balance between style and adherency, some of what these tokens might do will change again. I mean, sure. Thanks, Leah. If you have no questions about our bottom line up front stuff, you can type NQ and that will just let me know to move on here. Not at all. You're not derailing, you're adding. This is why I'm glad you're here. I mean, every time someone pushes back or points out something I've missed, it adds good data. I think everyone appreciates it. The bottom lines, these are great for troubleshooting. Again, there's no right way to prompt. I think that's the next. Yeah, there's no right way to prompt. But for people trying to craft a specific images, there are ways to troubleshoot prompts when they aren't working. And that's what those bottom lines are about. If your prompt is working, like Derpeter is pointing out, I use, maybe he uses 16-bit linear EXR or something all the time, and I love how it looks. You know what? There's no right way to prompt. If that token is doing the thing he needs it to do, then there's no reason to question that token. If, however, there's another user who throws that in and it then is like, I don't understand, why does my prompt keep doing XYZ? One of the things we'll do is say, well, let's troubleshoot for these chaotic tokens. That's why we don't call them bad tokens, just chaotic. In some users' hands. So yeah, this is about troubleshooting check number 1. This is about, if it's not controlled with the prompt, Midjourney makes it up. So you want to address each element of the composition, which we talked about being the subject, the background, and the style. You want to prompt more than once and figure out where Midjourney needs help. So you prompt, you examine the image output, You refine the prompt, you go again. Is there anyone here who has never done iterative prompting? Let me ask it this way. Have you done iterative prompting? Iterative prompting, yes or no? I'm just curious, survey. 2 of you have said yes. Three yes. Okay, so I'm just trying to see, is there anyone who's going to say no, I wonder, for whom this is a novel idea? I think most people who use Midjourney regularly, blah, 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 have picked this up. What about reaching the point where the prompt problem can't be solved, or the problem can't be solved with prompting? Let me ask that question. Have you ever reached a point where you realized the problem can't be solved with prompting? I mean, my answer is yes. I have reached a point where, like, I've tried to do an infographic, for example. Midjourney just can't do it. It can't be solved with prompting. I can't tell Midjourney to make a series of 11 boxes across 5 swim lanes connected by arrows. There's no mechanism for it. Regine says that they go to mood boards or SREF, so when the problem is an aesthetic problem. End up using image prompts to guide the prompt. How have you been handling the lack of that in alpha? Is it frustrating?
Yes.
One word, big smile.
Yeah. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
I miss it because I use it a lot to guide the diffusion.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you guys are looking for guiding the diffusion, we call that scaffolding. And Wendy is excellent at it. Yeah, so there's the one of the things that we'll note Midjourney Labs is pursuing over time, and don't ask me when because I don't have that information, is a stronger suite of editor features so that when problems can't be solved with prompting, we're not up a creek. Instead, we'll have a really robust editor feature suite to help us make fill in the gap. Will I be able to make amazing infographics even with the help of the future editor? I don't know. We'll see. So, right. Troubleshooting check number 2. This is a discussion of archetypes, you guys. Let me ask this question. Are you familiar with archetypes as a term? Is there anyone here who's willing to say, heck no, I've never heard that phrase before? What are you going on about?
Yeah, I'll say it.
All right.
It's how you design a building, isn't it?
And
I want the whole thing one.
Absolutely. Yes, you hire a civil engineer and an archetype. Right. This is Archie, and he types. Aw. Hi, Archie. Why does he look like he wants me to pay the rent? You must pay the rent. I can't pay the rent. Okay.
Well, I'll have to tell you, it's the archetype of a cockroach that it presumes you're going to pay the rent, because they don't.
Oh, good point.
That's true.
Geez. Oh, yeah. So he is. Look at that. So it is my advice for troubleshooting only. This is not how you have to write the prompt, but when troubleshooting, you can help yourself out by figuring out archetypes and articulating details that aren't covered by the archetype or that need anchoring because otherwise they're dropped or missed. Anchoring means just frickin' include it, because Midjourney will strive to put on the canvas whatever's in the prompt. So if something goes missing, contrive some way to get it into the prompt, and that'll help it come back.
Did you mean like the real word like anchor, or?
No, just add the word. So like, let's say you have a sailor with a red striped shirt on a dock, and no matter what it's a big long prompt, and the red striped shirt never shows up. The guy's either wearing a red shirt or a blue striped shirt. You can't, what's going on with the red striped shirt? Then to anchor it means to emphasize the detail in the prompt, to add weight to it by repeating it, for example, by saying a sailor in a shirt with a red striped, a sailor wearing a red striped shirt, a shirt with red stripes. Now you've said it two different ways. That anchors it, it weights it, it holds it down, it pins it down, and it makes it more likely to show up on the canvas.
Okay, that's new for me. Okay. I thought double prompting and emphasizing too much would make more hallucinations. But
you have to. It's useful if you're doing iterative prompting and you've noted that the red striped shirt doesn't show up. Then adding more, because what you're doing is governing the model's attention. You notice the model's attention, it has not settled on the shirt, is not doing the shirt right. You increase the model's attention on the shirt by increasing the number of tokens devoted to that detail.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And by governing the model's attention that way, you can pin down details that would otherwise go missing.
So that is archetyping? Or?
That is anchoring. Archetypes are this. Let's now talk about, I don't even have a slide for anchoring. I should, because you're right. It gets really confusing when I talk about anchoring and archetypes next to each other because there's so much alliteration. But an archetype, Ablia, is the dominant representation in the training data of a thing. So you can describe a thing. Like here I described a man wearing a white shirt and a long sleeve flannel overshirt, and he wears denim pants tucked into waterproof work boots, and he wears workman's gloves, and he has an axe slung over his shoulder. He has red hair. I've gone on and on and on. But I can also just invoke it with the archetype, a lumberjack. Same guy. Pretty much the same guy. Right? So the archetype lumberjack carries all those details with it. I will get all of those details just by using the word lumberjack. But I don't have to. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that's pretty insane how similar they look. Like, is this just a fluke? Like, or does this happen a lot? And is this re-prompting or the first prompt?
This is the first prompt.
Okay.
I just know, I mean, you can do the same thing with a fireman, anything that you know what it looks like. You can either sit down and say like, okay, well, the stereotypical nurse is, a woman with bobbed hair with the nurse's cap on with a red heart or a red cross on the cap. And she's wearing white, and she's probably got her arms crossed, across a clipboard or something, right? Like, this is what I think a nurse looks like, stereotypically. And then I can go in here and type a nurse. Oh, whoops, I've got conversational mode. And type a nurse. a nurse. And likely, see?
Yeah.
I mean, I got that's the archetype of a nurse, and it was a woman, right? So I didn't have to, she's missing the arms crossed over the clipboard. I added that in, the archetype didn't include it. But so I could sit there and describe. True enough, Derpiter. I could sit there and describe everything about a nurse, or I could just use the word a nurse. Now, there's reasons why you want to use both. These are two different methods, and they each have a reason. A reason why you want to use them. You want
so
to.
you could like say like a lumberjack, but he's wearing these kind of boots or whatever.
But Midjourney doesn't understand the word "but."
Yeah, of course.
So that's a great example.
A lumberjack, and then wearing just yellow boots, and then we'll do the archetype with yellow boots.
Let's see. A lumberjack. Seed. Whoops. Yeah. 1, 1, 1, 1. A lumberjack wearing yellow boots. Seed 1, 1, 1. Yep. Wow, that's a strong archetype, right?
Yeah, that's good.
If I hit some
lumberjacks these days have to wear high vis stuff, you see, so it's not it's true. Well, my cousin said he does.
I think as well do the old archetypes, same as the nurse, right?
Yeah, nurses have to wear high vis anyway. But it's good, isn't it, now that before the archetype used to be where we'd have to put in a weight on the yellow boots sometimes, wouldn't we? If it wasn't part of the archetype, we'd be able to weight.
Once upon a time. But with this, with 8's prompt adherence, we're doing fine. Okay, so here is an example of breaking the archetype. I said a lumberjack wearing yellow boots holding a big... I don't know what that error means, but okay, thanks. A lumberjack wearing yellow boots holding a big spoon and cutting down a fish instead of a tree. I said cutting down, so it immediately put trees, even though it stuck a fish in the spoon. Right? It doesn't know how, and I can't say instead of a tree. Instead of a tree, because Midjourney doesn't know what instead of means. No bueno. So what you have to do instead is describe. Let's see. I probably can keep a lumberjack cutting down. Let's see, a big spoon, attacking a tall vertical fish that looms in the forest. I don't know. Let's try that. Yeah. See, now all of a sudden I have, because I didn't use I described it instead of invoking it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So in the slides, I have this example, like I could say a woman in a cafe, sitting in a cafe on a rainy day. And what if I wanted her to have no coffee? Do you see how she has coffee here? Because I said that she's in a cafe, but I don't want her to have any coffee yet. She's still waiting for her coffee, but I can't say she's without coffee or doesn't have coffee or doesn't yet have coffee or has not received her coffee yet or I can't say any of those things. Midjourney doesn't understand negation words. I mean, a unicorn that doesn't have a horn won't work because the archetype of a unicorn has a horn. A Pegasus without wings doesn't work. Archetype of a Pegasus has wings. Woman in a cafe hasn't received her coffee yet. if you're in a cafe, you got some coffee. An archetype.
It's okay, you use a negative from them, or
No, you can't. You have to describe what it looks like instead of what it is. So answer me this, Bliamok. What does a unicorn without a horn look like?
a horse.
Right. What does a Pegasus without wings look like?
A horse.
Right. What does a cowboy who's hung his hat on a fence post look like?
A human.
Right. So a woman in a cafe who hasn't received her coffee yet, what does it look like?
A woman sitting in the cafe bar.
No.
That will do the archetype, right? A woman sitting next to a waiting window in front of a table, a clean,
right,
whatever.
a clean, empty table. You
Yeah.
say what it looks like, not what it is. That's exactly the answer. So here, I've got almost exactly the same picture, but instead I said a small, empty wood table. Didn't use the word cafe anywhere. I dodged the archetype by describing. This is very important in Midjourney or in any diffusion model you work with, because as long as it's diffusion, it's going to go straight for that statistically dominant archetype. And the best you can do is avoid using those tokens and go around the houses and describe instead. So when I wanted him to chop down a fish instead of a tree, I had to picture what that looked like and say what it looked like and not what it was. Because that's it. That's how you do it. Okay. So any questions about archetypes? Do we need more examples? Oh, we've got.
I think it's clear.
Pretty clear?
At
Okay.
least
It's a really easy concept, but even I get muddled when I actually have to use it. like because everything is an archetype. Absolutely every single word, every token that you write down has.
Yeah, that's the way we write, right?
Well, that's like what meaning is.
We're trying to tell a story, but that's not what we need to do. We need to explain.
You need to describe.
Yeah, describe. Yeah,
describe. Yeah. And remember that every word you put in the prompt has its own gravity, its own archetype. So Westendorf showed this great example of he was trying to do stylized art, and he used the word concrete, and the word concrete was a contemporary term. So the classical look of the art was warped by the presence of the word concrete, the archetype of concrete. When he removed concrete and just said flat gray ground and described it instead of invoking it, that influence went away and the classical look came back. Very cool. Okay. Last troubleshooting check, which is unfortunately all kinds of parts, but we're low on time, so let's see if I can just run through this. You want to use words that Midjourney says 7. 8 alpha understands. Punctuation, spelling, and grammar can matter. We've already talked about no negation or absence. We've talked about commands, conversation, and instructions to conversational mode. I'll give you some examples of technical specs and metadata. I'll give you an example of punctuation can matter. So if I say most of the time travelers worry about nothing. Most of the time travelers worry about nothing. Versus taking out the comma and say most of the time travelers worry about nothing. So when I start saying time travelers, I get strange technology and interesting historical periods. This one wasn't affected. Weird alien gates going to historical places, very Doctor Who-ish. Planet of the Apes, yeah. So that one comma made a big difference. Do you have to write like you learned in school every time you prompt? No. You don't have to do that. But when you're troubleshooting because your prompt is going wrong, check out your spelling, punctuation, and grammar because it has some nuanced effects that are worth. This one is let's eat grandma and let's eat grandma. No negation or absence. We already talked about that. Conversational mode. We talked about that. All right. Let's talk about camera metadata. So here is the difference between two prompts, same seed. One is packed with cool camera metadata and one is not. One just says photography. So do you guys have a strong feeling that one of these is a more powerful photograph than the other? Some people like A, some people like B, some people don't see a big difference. What do you think? Do you like A or B better? You like A better? Yeah, B has a little bit of blur or mist in the background there. Yeah. Not a huge difference. But a difference that some people might appreciate. Mm-hmm. Less washed out.
Polarized, maybe.
Say again?
Polarized. If you use like a polarizing lens.
Oh, polarized lens.
More.
Yeah. So these terms. Yeah, we have no idea. Right. It does. And this doesn't mean that the camera metadata should be skipped or they're bad or you're silly for using it or anything like that. It means nothing like that. It just means that it doesn't have a huge effect. And when you're troubleshooting, you might want to take a look at those because it's possible that one of those words is not, one of those strings is not understood by Midjourney the way you intended it to be. There are ways, really reliable ways of stylizing photography. You might find you get more out of terms corresponding to iconic photographic aesthetics like Polaroid or Leica. Here's Polaroid. You can see the difference is greater between A and B and C than between A and B. Maybe you don't like it as much. That's acceptable. But iconic photographic styles certainly have a more reliable and larger influence. Yes, exactly. Derpader is talking about iconic photographic styles. Portrait, Ektachrome. Film types are often quite iconic. Polaroid's another example of that. Many of those play out beautifully. Much better than just metadata. Iconic is the way to go. You can, for example, explore sourcing to the name of a famous photographer. You can ask ChatGPT or something to list some for you if you want. This one is Ansel Adams. It's a bigger jump in style than camera metadata. Well-known media sources. You might, say, hey, it's in the style of Southern Living magazine or Vogue or CNN or something like that. This is National Geographic magazine. You see some of its iconic color saturation and composition there. Does it mean that it's better or that you like it better? You might not. You might be like, oh, I hate how that looks. But yeah, well, in alpha, I'm seeing that problem too. in the style of photography works beautifully. But some of the other ones, as I was showed before you came in, I was showing examples of some things that can go wrong. But I think that's just an alpha thing. Knock on all available surfaces. Oh, I just alarmed my dog by making knocking noises. Okay. Okay, so let's that's nice, Derpiter. Let's run that so we can show Derpiter's example. Excellent. Let's try a serene mountain lake. Serene mountain lake. I think I used my usual seed, so we might be able... The chances of us hitting the same seed are slim. Yeah, no. Alas. This habit of alpha putting borders around things like this, no more in 8.1. I think we'll see less of that in 8.1. That's my speculation. Marina, any iconic look, photographic look can be used. The reason why it works is that it's iconic. Whereas stuff like Aperture 100 or whatever doesn't look any particular one way that is repeated millions of times in the training data. So Midjourney has no idea what you mean when you ask for it. But Kodak Portra has a particular look. Polaroid has a particular look. It's visual. In fact, that's the next thing. That's the next slide. Which I'm having a hard time finding what I did with the slides. There we go. Write prompts using dense visual language, Marina. You want every word to take advantage of the limited processing power devoted to the job. So look at all these great types of words you can use. See the iconic visuals: Polaroid, Kodachrome, glitch, infrared, film noir. If they're dominant enough in the training data, they will have an effect. But those strings of numbers that the metadata people use often do not have the influence that they hope. It's a good, when troubleshooting, you might try removing those. So at this point, I usually try to paste in these images in case, let's see. Hold on just a second. I'm going to grab this image for you. Heck, it's supposed to be right here. But somehow I closed keep. There it is. So in case you want a copy of examples of descriptive, iconic, or visually evocative language, and you want to ask yourself, what does it look like? Avoid non-visual, abstract, or negative words. I will give you that image as well in case you want to save that to your desktop or whatever as a cheat sheet. Oops. There we go. And if you want a copy of these slides, by the way, you can always fill out this feedback form. If you have done it before and you still haven't gotten a copy of the slides, send me a note in DM. Get on my case about it. These are not sent out automatically, they're sent out manually. So occasionally they get missed. So I trust you guys will shake your fist at me. And that advice about iconic is just all archetypes again. The idea behind saying Polaroid instead of f1.5 aperture or whatever is that Polaroid is a reliable archetype, but the string of numbers is not. So it's the same. It's the same. Same rule, same guideline. Those images are not readable. Are they blurry, you guys? If you get them, oh my God, they're tiny.
Yeah, very small.
What? All right. I'm sorry. Here. Thanks for saying something, Marina. I don't know why Keep did that. Let's do it this way. That's all right. I got it. I got it. I got it. How's that one, Marina? That one's good. Okay. And we'll use the same method for that. Is good? Okay. Excellent. So congratulations, you guys. You made it. You made it. You made it. I have closed an important window. Anyway, I want to say that you have graduated the Alpha Quick Start. You've learned that you should use subject style and background guideline and for troubleshooting. Check that you covered those three things. Make sure that you have controlled yourself, the part of the canvas that is going wrong. So when you look at the image and you think, what? But I wanted XYZ. Check the prompt and make sure XYZ is in there. Exactly, Derpater. Experiment with playing with archetypes, invoke versus describe. Sometimes you'll keep trying, I want the lumberjack to chop down a giant fish. I don't want him to chop down a tree. And it won't work until you give up the phrase, lumberjack chops down. And instead describe him attacking a giant vertical fish, right? Sometimes you have to just go ahead and say what it looks like, not what it is. And then be aware, at least when troubleshooting, of chaotic tokens. You don't want to lose control of the canvas. If you're having some issues with the canvas, with it showing what you're asking for, what you want it to show, go ahead and check. Say, did I use any conversation? Am I relying on jargon? How's my punctuation grammar doing? Is my language dense and visual? These are not ways that you must prompt, but they are very helpful troubleshooting steps. I understand, Marina. Depending on the prompt, it sometimes helps to say a scene depicting. Let me show you that. So, whoops, where did my Midjourney go? So sometimes people get this problem where you say, look, a cactus, but instead I get a picture of a cactus. You did, Ari. Hi. A picture of a cactus instead of a cactus. So sometimes if you say a scene depicting, and then you say a cactus, occasionally that will get rid of the border. It did not. I just did a different cactus. I did a bunch of examples of this before. Let's see if I can find them. Yeah. So far away at sea was producing a bunch of things with these borders. But if I did a scene depicting far away at sea, look at that. The border's still there. Maybe it was just the seed I used. On the other hand, oh no, it's the colon. It's the colon! No, let's see. Oh yeah, that worked. A photograph depicting. A scene didn't work, but a photograph did. That gets rid of borders for me pretty much across the board. This is 8. This is 8. 8.1 won't have this problem. Pretty sure. Okay, yeah, 4 out of 4. A scene depicting an oil painting of a woman. 4 out of 4, no borders. The first has a border? It does? Black on black, I couldn't see it. Oh, thank you. Yep. I see it now. Yep. I'll also try turning down stylize. Four out of 4. No, I don't either, interpreter. The only people I've had come to me with this problem are people whose prompts are like 10 words or less. And that's because 8.1 does as little as possible. Excuse me, 8 alpha does as little as possible. 8.1 does not have that problem. Yeah, it's as if someone stood in front of the painting and snapped a photograph of it. I'm also going to add a P code per interpreter's advice. Wait for 8.1, Ari. Also use an sref or mood board or profile. Thusly. Yeah. Or invoke a painter's name. Yep. Very nice. Very nice. Great advice. Professional studio lighting. Every time I use studio lighting in 8 alpha, I get physical black tripods with lights on them.
I feel like interpreter. I feel like that would get you frames and glare.
I wonder if I say soft lighting, whether it will softly light. Oh, yeah, it will. I'm just wondering if it'll softly light the subject in the painting and softly light the picture of the painting that it's showing me. Right, exactly, interpreter. But I think this is saying an evenly illuminated scene certainly didn't help. But honestly, I really don't think this will happen in 8.1. I do want to point out that you get 24/7 community support for prompting with your membership. So if you ever need help, you can come to one of these channels anytime, and somebody will probably show up and help you. So don't fly alone. We also have a site which is slowly but surely holding all of our community FAQs and tutorials. Most of what I've shared with you today is documented on that site if you are interested. And we have many, 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 many fine events at this calendar. And you are welcome to register at that calendar if you want reminders in text or email about when events are starting. I will once again leave you with the tally feedback, and then I will swing back to look at the other questions and comments. I still got random signatures, says Twisted Reality, on many images, but I've found a way to overcome this by adding to the end of my prompt, signed T Reality. At least now it's my signature. I love that solution. Here's everything you need to use Midjourney. Are there any more questions before we adjourn? If you don't have any further questions, follow our example by typing NQ for no questions. If you do have a question, just type it in or type Q to let me know that you are going to type in a question. Okay. If you are watching this as a recording, you are welcome to use your comment section. You can even Clarinet if you need to find me, and someone will swing by and help you out. Otherwise, come on down to Midjourney's official Discord server at discord.gg/Midjourney. All right, we are adjourned. Don't forget prompt battles. We have the prompt battle Saturday edition starting in about an hour and a half. Hope to see you guys there.
Thank you very much for all the help. It's been great. I learned a lot. So thank
Oh,
you.
great. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye, all.
See ya.